Hey, what is up guys? So we are going to be having a very awesome discussion today, and I do want your guys' feedback whether you are a competitive player or just a casual player. This is more technically on the competitive aspect of the game, but it still does apply to some of you other players because, you know, I like to have fun with you, I like to see a lot of crazy deck ideas and crazy combos work out in the game. But here's the thing, in Yu-Gi-Oh! We have the section called the limited section, and this is basically my take on, you know, if the limited section should just be banned completely, because one thing from a competitive TCG game is that, you know, cards that are so good, you know, that we need to put them at 1, it really doesn't matter for certain cards if you open up with them. And let me go ahead and basically talk about what I mean by this. So, if you've ever played, you know, well, Yu-Gi-Oh! You've probably seen Thunder King Ryo. At one point, a lot of decks were just running 3 Thunder King, because like this card basically stopped your opponent from, you know, making any plays. And the reason why you play 3 is you tried to open up with it as much as possible, because it basically made it so your opponent couldn't get their deck rolling. And basically, you would activate your dualities, you would get your search-ins before you would summon your Thunder King. And then when your Thunder King would die, you were able to search. Basically, Thunder King was a maintainer of a control aspect of the game. And if you opened up with Thunder King, it didn't matter that the card was at 1. Like, even now, if you open up with Thunder King, it's still a very powerful card. And even though it's at 1, it doesn't matter that's at 1 if you open up with Thunder King, because that's basically the goal of Thunder King. Thunder King is not like a good top deck card. It's basically used, unless your opponent is also top decking, then it can kind of be okay, depending on the deck that you're playing against. But majority of the time, Thunder King is just one of the best first turn cards, and if you open up with it, it doesn't matter that it's at 1. Konami has kind of realized this. 2 excellent examples would be Gateway and Card Destruction. Both of those cards are banned because it didn't matter that they're at 1. If you were able to use them, well, Gateway more so, you just won. Like, Gateway's effect was basically you win the duel. Like, if your opponent doesn't stop this, you win the duel. Like, that card was absolutely crazy in the game, and even though it was at 1, the deck was still doing stuff because people opened up with Gateway. Like, it happened. One of the guys that won a, I don't know if it was regional or YCS, he even played a BLS in there, which was awesome, but he said he opened up with Gateway 7 times, and that's how he, I believe he actually got first place too. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I don't remember the exact one, but anyways, what it comes down to is if you open up with those cards that are at 1, it doesn't matter that they're at 1. If you're playing Zectors, you open up with that Hornet, like, you have such huge advantage. I mean, it doesn't matter that the cards are at 1. Another example would be something like Rescue Rabbit. Like, I know there's no one playing Macro Rabbit, because, well, D-Fissure and Macro, they're at 1 right now, but the thing is, it doesn't matter. If you're only playing, you know, 3 vanillas, you open up with Rabbit, I would still say probably Dolka is still a very good card. I almost would say Dolka is better right now in the game than Lagia, but not that anyone plays it. If you go for first turn Dolka, you have so much advantage. Why does it matter that Rescue Rabbit is at 1? If you're going to a competitive, you know, game, and, you know, they open up with Rescue Rabbit, and they go for first turn Dolka, there are certain decks that will simply fold to them. I mean, you have to use too much resources to get rid of Dolka, and by the time you do that, they've already got, you know, so many back row, and so many turns have gone by where you've done nothing. They just have game in the bag. It's just really unfortunate to run into some of those things. This card I am super salty about. I just can't believe this card is still legal. Royal Tribute is just absolutely too crazy for me, because the thing is, your opponent, if I activate Royal Tribute and you're playing a Monster Mash deck, or just even getting rid of all your monsters and seeing your hand, like, how is that even reasonable? Trap Dust Shoot was banned for that reason, that you could run it in pretty much every deck. But the thing is, you know, there are certain decks that can still run cards that see cards in your hand. Like, Dark Worlds still have Triple Drag down for, well, I don't know what reason. And it's not like Dark Worlds have been doing anything, but that deck technically did win a first place at a YCS, and then nothing happened to the deck. Usually what happens is they look at decks that are winning, and they take away some of their cards, and then, you know, obviously, to promote some of the newer stuff, and to make you want to play the new stuff, they make, you know, everything else that's currently out limited, semi-limited, all that other good stuff. But the problem is, it doesn't matter that it's at 1. I mean, Eradicator, if you're playing against certain decks, like, this will just win. I mean, if your opponent is playing Spellbooks and you activate this, it doesn't matter that's at 1. Like, if you open up with it, you win. And that's basically what it comes down to. I'm not really going to be talking about the semi-limited section because, I mean, this card is pretty dirty in, you know, Herald, but the thing is, majority of the time is what I'm talking about. Like, for example, like, I don't think that we should ban something like, where is it? Neospatian Gramble. I don't think that that's a ban-worthy card, but I'm talking about the game as a whole because it's such a disadvantage where, you know, let's say Monster Reborn comes back. That card will always come back and, you know, get banned. It hops the fence every, you know, few formats. And same thing with Heavy Storm. That card comes back and gets banned. If you open up with Heavy Storm and Monster Reborn, you are at a significant advantage. It doesn't matter that the card is at 1. You can simply win because you have those 2 cards and they're at 1. I did upload a video a couple days ago talking about, you know, if cards at 1, it's balanced, right? And I got I got Cyber Dragon, was it Cyber Twin Dragon? He had Honest and he had Limiter Removal, and like the monster had, was it like 17? I got a hit for like 12,000 attack. Either way, it doesn't matter that some of these cards are 1 because it really puts an inconsistency to the game. And for you competitive players, I'm sure you guys would feel me on this when, you know, your opponent just opens up with that card that you know, you're only allowed to run 1 of, but they open up with it, and at that point you've like lost that game. You've lost a huge advantage just for, you know, the card being at 1, and it's a card game and it happens. And I think that's unfortunate. It kind of goes back to some of the maps on, I play a lot of FPS games, and the thing is, there are some maps that are, you know, not symmetrical, and there are some, you know, huge advantage points. Like in Call of Duty, if you guys ever play League Play, like, you know, they switch sides and stuff to try to balance it out, and, you know, so you wouldn't complain about, you know, one side being better than the other. But the problem is, in Yu-Gi-Oh, is that one player gets to go first, and that's determined by a basically RNG, random numbered, well, it's usually done by a dice, but it's random to determine who gets to go first. And one thing is, you know, if you lose game 1, you get to go first game 2. But then if you beat them game 2, they still get to go first. So it still puts a huge disadvantage because the other player got to go first twice. But I know that they're changing the rules in the OCG where the player that goes first does not get to actually get their draw for the turn, so they start out with 5 cards. But we definitely need that, you know, in conjunction with some of these cards. Maybe that will completely fix it, but for now in the TCG, we still have the player that gets to go first gets to draw, you know, 6 cards just like the other player does. But like I said, guys, this was a topic about the whole limited section in general and how we should just make the cards at 3. Like, why put it so... I mean, I know that there are certain cards that probably shouldn't be at 3, maybe like Dark-Armed Dragon, because that's a pretty nasty thing. I mean, could you imagine getting someone dropping 3 Dark-Armed Dragons, popping 3 cards, and then pretty much finishing off with an, you know, additional normal summon? But there are certain cards that just, like, if you open up with them, it doesn't matter that they're on 1. And that's basically what I wanted to touch upon. Like I said, like Thunder King would be an excellent example. Rabbit, even though that's not relevant. But, I mean, Royal Tribute, like, why is this card still, like, legal? Like, either just ban it or put it at 3. That's one thing that a Magic the Gathering player talked to me about, and he was like, well, if the card's at 3, I mean, if the card's too powerful, we'll just ban it. Like, if it's too good, why make it so you can sometimes get the really powerful effect anyways? And, I don't know, well, there's some cards like Burial, like, why is this here again? I mean, Mizuki, is it Mizuki 2, right? Or is it 3? I don't know. And it does nothing for the game because, like, the game has gotten too fast. You're like, oh, you have to put Mizuki in the graveyard. No, that's too slow. You need to special summon a bunch of XYZs and a bunch of Synchros and just, like, win. I don't know, Sylvan's basically spam that board. But like I said, guys, I'd like to know your guys' thoughts and opinions on this. Should we just ban the cards that are just, you know, way too good opening up with, like, you know, Honest is just absolutely too good. You know, even if you know, don't get to use it first turn, just having it gives you such a huge advantage. Same thing with Thunder King, same thing with cards like Royal Tribute. I mean, like I said, they have kind of noticed this, and that's why Gateway is gone. That's why Card Destruction is gone, because it doesn't matter that they're at 1. If you open up with it, it puts a huge disadvantage to your opponent. But like I said, I want your thoughts if you're competitive or just a casual player, and maybe you guys have some other insights or ideas to how we can maybe fix this, or, you know, just your opinions and thoughts. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. Asian Eyes out.